As we all know, winter is fast approaching in most part of the world, and so it becomes imperative that we talk about how winter or how cold weather affects our body. As we all know, during the winter period or during cold weather, we tend to have cold symptoms. Could just be we're having, runny nose, like the catarrh coming out, a mild cough, could be a little bit of fever or thereabouts, and it might just, worsen. We could have even the flu itself, which is more worse condition, and we could have the body aches, general body malaise and stuff. And we also know that people who have respiratory conditions, like people who are asthmatic, people who have COPD, the condition tends to worsen by that period. So especially in the elderly ones. So we also need to keep these people warm, ensure they are warm, ensure that they are not predisposed to crowded environments, because in crowded environments, what happens is that there's easy transmission of diseases, because most or some viruses tend to thrive in cold weather. So we should limit them from being exposed to excessive cold weather and being exposed to crowded places. Also, not just the respiratory problems that people have during cold weather, but it's also imperative that they take vaccinations, especially the elderly ones. They should take the vaccinations like COVID vaccination, flu vaccines, pneumonia vaccines, and RSV, which is the respiratory syncytial virus vaccination, depending on the person's disease condition. It's necessary that they take those. You can go to the hospital, you can go to your GP, you can go to the chemist, the pharmacist, and you take your vaccinations. It's very important. It's not just the respiratory problems that we tend to have during the winter period. We also have cases of low mood. There's this called SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. Seasonal affective disorder, what is it? It is when some people start coming up with signs and symptoms of depression. They are becoming more low in mood. They are becoming, uninterested in activities that they like, isolating themselves, loss of appetite, and things like that. And these people normally during the other season of the year, like the summer period or the spring, they don't have any issue. They don't come up with these symptoms. There's no sign of depression. But during this winter period, they start exhibiting the signs and symptoms of depression. But you may ask, what is the cause? It is because during the winter period, or during the autumn or fall, depend, and the winter, these two seasons, or these two periods, we find out that we have more shorter daytime and more longer night period, longer dark period. We find that maybe around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, everywhere is dark. Because this hormone called cortisol, which is very necessary in our mood, it elevates our mood. Cortisol and epinephrine, they all elevate our mood. So what we find out that because cortisol is being released more in a bright weather, in a daylight, especially when we wake up in the morning, and that's that early sunshine, that early brightness that comes out helps to boost the increase of our cortisol levels, and that gives us that morning energetic boost for us to do work, do this, go to our work, go to school, whatever activities we want to embark on. It gives us that energetic boost that morning. But then what happens? Maybe around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, everywhere is dark. That cortisol level is lowered. And you see that person, especially if you're in the hospital and in the nursing home, you see that people during that evening time, that's what they call sundowning. They start exhibiting those, mental characteristics I mentioned. They start exhibiting those behaviors. That is what is called sundowning. So it's more common during the winter period. So it affects our mental health. So when that evening, the dark time comes on, then there's this hormone called melatonin that will be secreted. Melatonin ensures it's necessary in the sleep-wake cycle. It induces that sleepiness in us. And so what happened? During the winter period, we all tend to sleep more. Sleep is so sweet because it darkens quickly. So we sleep early and then we wake up late because that melatonin is still in the blood system. We need it. We're still sleeping because even when you wake up around 6, 7 o'clock, it's still dark. So that's why we sleep longer and we sleep early during the winter period. It's not just, there are other factors that, other effects that this winter period have on our body as well. This winter period, because of the temperature, the low temperature, I mean to say, when you see the temperatures in the minus, it's in the minus, -10, -22 and thereabouts, we tend to feel so cold. Our bodies start freezing. That's why it's imperative that we cover ourselves, protect ourselves with warm clothes. If possible, layers upon layers upon layers of clothes. And not just that, we protect our face, protect our hands, because we tend to have what is called frostbite. What is frostbite? Frostbite is when our body, especially those areas that have been exposed to the weather, starts, becoming more freezing. We might becoming more freezing, start feeling cold. We can start having pins and needle sensation, and it might start feeling numb. We're not even having any sensation at all, no sensation in the body. And then, so what is important that we should cover ourselves. You can use the muffling, cover your ears, because the parts of the body that are usually affected are the hands, the legs, the nose, the ears. So we need to cover our, you can wear muffins, head, scarf, whatever, cover our ears, even cover our nose. If you have a mask, cover your nose, wear your warm gloves, just ensure that we're well protected, we're well covered to prevent frostbite. Because what should you do when you have these frostbites? You need to stay in a warm environment. You could have a warm bath. Not excessively hot, I mean warm, like a body normal temperature of like 37 degrees Celsius. You could put your hand in the warm water. Because it could also give you this, because when these pins and needles come, it might also have body aches. So you could also take pain medication, just like paracetamol. And if it's in extreme cases, you can go to the hospital, see your GP, and they will advise you better. So there are other things that cold weather can expose us to as well, can cause, because in cold weather, there are other conditions that we can have in cold weather. We can also be exposed to excessive heating. Especially when you heat your houses, your flats, your rooms too much, the heating, there's this stuffiness in the room, and that could block our nose. In as much as we want to keep warm, we can also try as much as possible to, open up the windows maybe in the afternoon, enough ventilation, airing of the windows, because we see that the room, there's no much, the humidity will drop. So sometimes you need to use humidifiers. People use humidifiers, in the rooms, so that they could, there's more air and circulation in the room, and then so that the rooms are not stuffy and all that. You couldn't get enough air in the rooms as well. Then for smokers, during that period, for smokers, they tend to cough a lot, have respiratory problems, and that it's necessary, advice, they should try and limit their smoking, or even stop it at all. They have to prevent all these respiratory conditions, because it's more predisposed them to that. So generally, during the cold weather, we should try and ensure that we are warm enough. We are eating highly nutritious diet. Highly nutritious diet. Because what we notice is that during the cold period, we tend to binge a lot. Eating more high carb. We tend to get hungry a lot. Yeah, cold weather makes us feel hungry a lot. You burn the calorie quicker. And so instead of us, because we're more hungry, we tend to binge, or we tend to, eat high calorie diets. Let's try as much as possible to eat nutritious diet. We also should get enough sleep. Of course, winter period, we love sleep during that time. Try and get enough sleep. Try and eat well, keep hydrated. Exercise is important. We need to also do what? Exercise. We know during cold weather we tend to slouch in our bed, in our sofa. But yeah, I know when weather is cold, nobody wants to go out. But in as much as possible, maybe just a few minutes of walk around your house, your estate, or even jogging, aerobic exercises, just a bit of that fresh air, a bit of that bright light, especially in the mornings, that bright light that increases our cortisol level is necessary that we engage in such. And then when it comes to dieting, most time during the winter period, we see that our vitamin level drops. And why is that? Because we don't have enough sunlight. We know that we get vitamin D from the synthesis of the sunlight, gives us vitamin D. So because we don't have enough sunlight, our vitamin D level drop. So it's also necessary that we also take vitamin D supplements. But it's important that you speak to your GP or your doctor or your pharmacist before you start taking those supplements. Because you can also get those vitamin D from food sources, especially egg. Egg is a nutrient-dense food. It contains high level of vitamin D. Also, oily fishes like the salmon, the mackerel, the herring, and other types have high level of vitamin D. There are also those fortified diets where vitamin D are added, like the bread, the milk, and all the rest. You need to take them. Because vitamin D is necessary for your mood levels as well. When you are becoming more moody, there may be likeliness that the level of your vitamin D is dropping.